Okay, everybody, as you can see, it is that time. It's Tuesday. It's time for our mastermind group conversation here within Real Geeks. And if you may notice something looks a little different. Usually you see Abe and I, um, and I like to think Abe and I sound smart. But the reality is we've got somebody else that's going to join us that is usually kind of in the background teaching Abe everything that we talk about when it comes to Real Geeks. So basically, I want to introduce you all to one of my great staff members, Lindsay Colbert. She is she's been working the Real Geeks websites for me for many years, and just want to join her for today's live session. And we're going to talk about the new status updates that are in that the changes that were made within our Real Geek CRM. And I thought it would be much better if we bring her along to explain than if Abe and I try to fumble through it. We could have gotten through it, but I think y'all would have been more confused. So, Abe, first of all, thank you again for being here with me, and Lindsay, thank you for stepping in today. We really appreciate it.
We've been exposed, Greg.
We have been
thought that we
exposed.
knew everything,
Yeah,
and we
well,
don't. It was really Lindsay the whole time.
Well, for everybody in Real Geeks Mastery in our coaching program, they already know who the boss is. They really know who the brains are. So, Lindsay, thank you so much
You're welcome.
for joining us today. Can you just, I'm just going to kind of turn it over to you, and then I'll chime in from here and there. But I think everyone needs to know, what is this new status update? What can you do with it? Maybe how are we using it and things like that. Can you, why don't you just start sharing that information?
Okay. Yeah. So last week, Real Geeks, and if you enable them, you now have the ability to use new statuses that are in the system and new urgencies. So some of the old statuses kind of was too confusing, I think, for our agents. I know internally it was. They had old ones like in escrow for something like that. So they updated the new ones. In order to use them, though, you have to go into the back end and enable them. One of the new things with some of the statuses is there's 3 that are automated based on your actions inside the system. The others would still be manual. You still have to change those. But there's 3 statuses that are now automated based on actions you take. The other statuses, if you log activities within the CRM, in the lead CRM page, they will change automatically for you, but it takes you the step to log that activity. And then the urgencies, they're updated as well to try to help you segment your database when you're trying to find people where they are in that buying cycle. There's now new fire, kind of self-explanatory, hot, weekly, long-term. So it gives you a little more guidance for when you need to follow up with the leads that are inside your database. Those are the new urgencies. Those also need to be manually adjusted based on when you talk to the lead and where they are in that buying cycle. I think it's going to be beneficial long-term to all of us because of the initial automation of leads. So you know if you spoke to somebody or not, and then segmenting the database and creating advanced search filters. Long-term, it's going to be easier for us to see who we've spoken to, who we haven't spoken to based on the new statuses and urgencies working together. You're on mute.
Yeah, so thank you. So one of the things that that I asked before within Real Geeks Mastery is so what's the biggest difference between the way we were doing it before? Like, what are our advantages right now? Why should people use the pay attention to this?
When a brand new lead comes into the system now, it's automatically given a status as new. When they came into the system before, they were blank. And it took the agent had to actually open the lead page, change the status to what they would want. Now,
okay, say that again. So now, when the lead came in before, let's say I got a real, does the lead source matter, or it would have been any lead that came in?
Any lead and any manually entered lead. The
Would
status is
not
now
have had
new.
any type of
And
tagging or status type. Okay, got it.
it would
So
have been
it came in
blank.
blank.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then then it was an agent that had to do an activity to put some sort of tag or status on it, which then they could use that in the future to pull up, to create lists, call list, or maybe even segment for advanced search filters and workflows. So I would imagine that a lot of people, any kind of status on a lot of their leads, because they didn't go back in and manually do that. Is that what we experienced?
Yeah, we do see that. I still see that now with some of the older leads that were in there. Yeah, they would still say blank. So anything that we've coached them on between then and now, when we would say filter status is active, they would miss out on those leads because the status was blank.
Right. And so now, like if a new lead comes in, what is the status that's automatically associated with a lead now that it comes in?
Okay, so it comes in brand new. It's automatically given a new status. So you're going to see those are leads that don't show any communication through the system or attempt through the system.
Right. So then at that point, so an agent can go in every single day. And I know I'm almost interrogating you. And it's less of a conversation than it is an interrogation. So for those of you that are watching today, this is a little bit more of a technical conversation. And so I think it's important that we be more interview style than just kind of like collaborative conversation in today's dialogue. So for those of you that can kind of see or hear a difference, forgive us. I just think it'd be more valuable to you. So on the so now, because one of the things that we know as real estate agents is we generate a lot of leads. So we generate a lot of leads. Now everything's going to be new. So assuming that 3 or 4 days go by, and I can now pull up, because we'll forget, like I might forget some of the leads that I got, but now every day I could actually search for all people that are labeled new, and then I will know which ones that maybe I haven't contacted yet. Because in my opinion, if you talk to somebody, you should probably change the status. It should no longer be new. That means that you've actually advanced the ball past the first conversation. So if you do have somebody tomorrow that's labeled new and it's a day old, then that just means here's a new lead that you got that no one's ever contacted, and you need to focus on those. Is that kind of correct? Is everything that I said accurate, or would you change something?
No, it's accurate. I just want to let everybody, if you're using the new statuses, you'll see too, there's a gray shaded bar in your lead CRM. So it makes it easier. It puts it right in your face. Like, these are new leads. You have to click on these. These have never been communicated with. The new thing though, that is kind of along the lines of what you said, if they take any action inside the system, email, text, or they log a call, no answer, or called left voicemail, the system automatically takes them out of that new status for the agent and puts them into attempted contact.
Yeah, that's perfect. So can you set an advanced search filter to only bubble up anything that's status is new?
Yeah, you can, but you don't need to now, because they also do it for you. So if anybody is unfamiliar or scared to use the advanced search filters, or they've never used them before, it's already there for them. They just click on that shaded area where it says new.
Got it. Okay, so so we'll always know how many people that are new. There's no doubt about that. And and so we can, but there can not a re-engagement, but like for those of you that maybe you want to do a little bit more than autoresponder with people that you've that have come in as new leads, you can have a workflow. Can you automatically kick off a workflow with based on a status?
Source and agent, not status, but you could filter it based on.
Okay, got it. So we can filter it. So what are the other statuses besides new?
After new is the attempted contact. So new and attempted contact are an automated status. Then after attempted contact is nurture. So anybody that you've successfully received an email back from, a text back from through the Real Geeks CRM, or called contact made, it automatically changes that from an attempted contact or new status to a nurture status.
And so let's think about attempted contacts right now. So let's say you go in, you got a new lead, it's tagged new, its status is new. Now you've made it an attempted contact. Go ahead and change that status to attempted contact. Is that correct?
It's automatic.
It's automatic.
So here's the cool part, Greg. So you get a new lead. Now they really stand out because you can see them as new leads. So you try to call them, right? And as long as you actually record an activity that you attempted to call, it's automatically going to change your status to attempted contact. So now you can really keep a close eye on your new leads and then people you attempted to contact.
How do I record that activity? What's the actual manual thing that I must do that records that activity?
In the activity, you could put call and click a button, right? Under activity.
Yeah, call, no answer, or send a text or an email. It automatically does it for you.
So then automatically the status changes to attempted contact. Now say, like where I was preaching, kick off a workflow, right? No contact after the first attempt. You kick off that workflow and you go show property. 2 hours later, that lead responds back to you. Now that status is going to change to nurture from attempted contact because you got a response. Mm-hmm. So basically what Real Geeks is doing right now is what we've been preaching forever, which segments your database. So Real Geeks has now made it so easy for you to segment your database because it's done automatically for you. All you have to do is actually go into the system and then just make a note of what you're doing. So if you actually made a phone call, click that you made a phone call. If you send out a message, you don't even have to message that because if you send out a text message, the system will catch that automatically. So the system has become smarter in segmenting your database for you. And now with these new statuses, it's like a real pipeline. So at any given moment, you could go in and see exactly where those people are, and less new leads are going to fall through the cracks, in my opinion, if it's done correctly.
Yeah, I think that was an excellent explanation, and that definitely helped me. And so, Abe, you and I have talked about, like for Lindsay, we've used Real Geeks for many, many years for lead generation. And then, of course, we also for lead management. But a lot of the lead management, there was a lot of manual aspects of lead management. And so what Real Geeks has done now is they've kind of automated some of the lead management. So now you can use our CRM or the IDX for lead acquisition to capture leads. But we're capturing so many leads right now, and there's so many manual functions that have to be performed that we end up not doing it. And then we have all these leads that we don't know how to identify who's good and who's not. So in a way, this is helping us management, but it's also helping us with lead identification. So this is part of the lead identification system. And when I say lead identification, I think we must know as agents, we have so many leads that we just have not identified that are about ready to do something. And we know Lindsay manages this every day. Our team of ISAs identify opportunities that we did not know existed. Now we do that through workflows and advanced search filters and text and email templates. There's a lot of work that we're putting in, but this actually just makes it a little bit easier.
It does. And trying to calculate your capture to contact ratio, now it's going to be so much more accurate and it's so much easier to actually be able to track that.
Yeah, that's a good point. So capture to, that's a good point. That'll really help us figure out. Again, if it's me, I'm making sure that I have advanced search filters. Right. That every day I would want an advanced search filter to populate for all people that have not been contacted. And it seems like, well, why would I have to do that? I would know who I've contacted and who I've not. No, you won't. Not after a week. You won't remember 5 days ago what leads that you capture because you're too busy responding or reacting to the other people that are being active in your CRM. So you got to make sure you pay attention to this, this functionality. Lindsay, what else do we need to know about this?
There's some other new statuses as well, and you'll see them in there. It takes the agent to actually create a follow-up or log an activity for those statuses to automatically kick in, which is like appointment set, showing, listing, contract, and closed. That's pretty self-explanatory there. They would automatically change the status if any of those actions are done. And then on the other side too, they've updated the urgencies. So the urgencies are now new as well if you enable those.
Yeah. We were talking when we were doing a deeper dive the other day in the mastery program. We were talking about why it's important to. We believe it's important that you use the statuses that are in the system, and be careful at constantly adding new statuses and customizing them, especially if you have a team. Because what ends up happening, your statuses, this becomes a language that everyone must be on the same page. They must speak the same language. So if you start like trying to change them too much and you're sending and routing leads to other people, next thing you know, an agent's going to use a certain a word, you're going to use a different word, and then it's going to be very, very hard to filter through your database and pull up accurate data. Do you agree on that, Lindsay? I know that we talked about that.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And whatever you do though, as far as your statuses and your urgencies, just make sure it's consistent. So somebody asked a question like, if you're saying run a filter for attempted contact, you don't necessarily need to run a filter for attempted contact. It's already on your screen now in a little gray shaded area. But I would run a filter for attempted contact and then look at my last contact date, or your last active date, I mean.
Yeah. So it's just very consistent. It just keeps going back to, Abe, we're always talking about, it really comes down to, you spend time, energy, and money building a database. We probably need to spend more time, energy, and money working our database than we need building our database. And we've experienced this in our own office where, like, we've done tests where we've decreased the amount of leads that we've given an agent, and they've increased their number of sales. So in order for us to decrease the amount of leads and they increase sales, what that meant was, or what happened was, they actually increased the amount of engagement that they had with their database, and they started converting more business out of it. So it's easier to actually convert something you've been nurturing than to actually convert something that you're just getting brand new cold. But we spend so much time, and when I say cold, a new lead today is like we've done no nurturing on it. And so a new lead is exciting, it's sexy, it's like, all right, I feel like I'm getting somewhere. But the reality is you're going to get further faster by working your database. And so that's where these new status updates, like for me, to have everything auto tagged with a status of new automatically, that in itself, if that was the only feature that they added, that in itself is a fantastic feature, because now it's searchable. Anything else that you guys want to add, Abe?
Oh, there's a couple of questions I'd like to address real quickly, and this is a good one. I don't know the answer, Lindsay, but I'm sure you do. You know everything. So will Real Geeks do the same thing with older leads? So if you've got leads in the system already, is the status going to change automatically?
It did not for us, because we had more customized. We had more customized statuses in there. I do know if you already had closed sold as one of your statuses, it will move it to closed. If you had a blank status, I believe it moves it to new. Active status though stays active. So there's some that do not automatically change. You are able to bulk update those. There's a setting in there where you can bulk update them. But I noticed our active ones did not move to nurture, because the agents changed it from new to active themselves back in the past.
Okay. And then here's another one. Can we create a filter of leads we attempted contact by phone less than a certain amount of times?
The best thing you can do there is just do your status as attempted contact and look at your last contact date. It doesn't give you you can't look at the amount of times you've tried to in the advanced search filters. You have to do status as attempted contact and then look at your last contact attempted date.
Okay. All right, so those are the new statuses, Greg, and I love that they're automatic. And we just lost Greg, but I'm not surprised. I'm surprised. So those are the statuses. What I want to dive into, we've got a couple of minutes left. Let's talk about. Hey, Greg, welcome back. So let's talk about the urgencies.
Goes out, and so I'm logging out and logging back in just for I couldn't hear you guys, so that's why I did that.
Well, we were talking about like the statuses with the automatic update on them is awesome, but I really love the urgencies. The urgencies I think were even better, right? Because we've always talked about segmenting your database A, B, C, and D, right? Now Real Geeks has done it for us with these urgencies.
Yeah.
So they've come up with some urgencies. Lindsay, you want to go through them real quick?
Fire is a new one. That's a daily urgency. Hot, weekly. Warm, monthly. Long term is a quarterly nurture. And then they have the existing ones in there, contacted and do not contact.
Yeah, see, that's brilliant. Because, I mean, that is what we do. I mean, everybody has their own rating system. Like I might say AAA or somebody says hot. So what Real Geeks has done is not only have they given us new urgencies, but they put a kind of like a description of when you should use this urgency versus another urgency. And that's important. And again, if we just...
Did he go out for you too?
Yeah, I see his lips moving, but I don't hear him talking.
I'm not hearing the microphone. I don't think he hears us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, I mean, this is your new segmenting, right? This is your A, B, C, and D that we talked about.
Love technology.
There you go. Yeah. And go ahead. You want to start over? We didn't hear anything you said.
No.
All right. It's okay. So one of the hardest things agents have when it comes to segmenting A, B, C, and D is setting the parameters, right? Okay, well, what does an A lead mean? How often should I call it? So Real Geeks now has actually set the parameters for you. So for fire, those are people they recommend that you call daily. So obviously anybody that you're calling daily has got to be the best of the best lead, right? So that's got to be your hottest lead.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody that you feel like is going to be doing something like now at any moment is someone that you're going to put an urgency of fire. Okay, and those are people, again, you're calling every single day. If you're not calling them daily, if you're worried about picking up the phone again, call them again today, then they shouldn't be in a fire urgency. They should be moved to something else, right? But these are the best of the best, and you want to keep this pile or this folder of people as small as possible, right? If you end up tagging everybody fire and you got 600 people in here, guess what? The 10 or 15 or 20 that are really fire, you're going to lose because you can't keep up with 600 people. So try to keep this list as short as possible and only have the best of the best. And these are people you're calling, again, daily. The second one is hot. And these are people not quite as hot as the fire, but these are people you're calling weekly, right? Again, these are people that are doing something very soon. You want to stay in touch with them every single week. And the next thing is warm. Those are people you call them monthly. And then after that is just long-term, which is just quarterly. So Lindsay and I were talking about this before you got on, Greg, before we actually went live. And we said, look, what you can do with this is you can actually set up an advanced search filter, right? And call it fire. Now, fire, Lindsay, you probably better at explaining this, but you're going to have what? Active or
urgency is fire.
Okay.
And last communication date is older than 1 day. If you want to call these people daily, your last communication date should be, older than 1 day.
Okay. And then hot, it's your last communication would be 6 days. Right?
Yeah, last communication within 6 days. Yeah, older than 6 days.
And so basically, you always have you're doing your list building, you're automating list building.
Yeah.
So like every day you walk in, all you have to do is look at that one filter, and you know that if there's somebody in there, then they need to be called.
Exactly.
And if they're in that other one, They need to call. And then every day the goal should be to zero it out. Like, let's make sure that we call every one of those. And then tomorrow we start all over, start at zero. And then there'll be some of those will auto populate it. And there's leads, call all those. And then every day that's your routine. That's the game that you play.
Like, I'm already seeing the daily process, Greg. You come into the office, you open up Real Geeks. The first thing you do is you click on your new leads and you call them. Once you're done with that list, you click on attempted contact people and you try them again or kick off a workflow. Once you're done with that one, then you go to the fire search. Then you go to the hot search, and then a warm search, and then a long-term search. I mean, that should be your daily routine. Every single day you come into the office, you should follow that process.
I think that's excellent. I think that's exactly what people need to do. Well, good. Well, Lindsay, thank you again for jumping on with us. And I'm sorry, I was at a meeting, so I got on my cell phone, and when people call, it kind of does some funky things with my phone. So that's why I was going in and out. But thank you both. And if you all have questions, I know all three of us will monitor the chat. So if you have questions regarding this, please put them in the chat, and we'll kind of look at it for the next couple of days and answer any of those questions that we can. But take advantage of the statuses, the urgencies. This is just another way that Real Geeks is allowing us to automate some of our processes and help us optimize our production. So thank you, everybody.
All right. Take care.
Okay. See you later.